Today I'm going to give you a full breakdown of how to use Trading 212. We're going to go through everything someone who's new to the platform needs to know to get themselves started. I'll show you how to set up everything correctly, the different account types and when you would use them, the features of all of those account types, including the stocks and shares ISA, pies, buying and selling investments, and I'll show you a load of tips, tricks and little hacks to get the most out of the app and the desktop platform. And this will apply no matter where you are in the world. To make it easy to navigate as well, if you want to skip sections, I've included some timestamps below. And it's worth me saying that Trading 212 have not paid me to make this video. I made a video like this years ago and it still gets loads of views, but it's super outdated and people ask for a fresh one all the time, so here it is. Okay, let's start with a simple question. Is your money safe with Trading 212? They're a Bulgarian business originally, founded in 2004, so they're not a new company like some people suggest. And they're a global broker now. Their UK entity is registered and regulated in the UK. They have a UK headquarters in London and a UK board of directors. What that means for anyone from the UK watching this is when you use the app, it's authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority, and your funds are protected by both the CAS rules in the UK, which are the main protection that investors get. These rules do a lot of things, but the main protection is they ensure brokers separate your funds from their own. So if they did go bust, your investments should be sat in a separate client account. They also are covered by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme of up to £85,000, which really is an insurance of last resort. As you can buy investments on the platform though, there is investment risk. And what I mean by that is, if you buy an investment and the price drops, you are not covered. You can lose your money with investments. The value of your capital can and will go up and down, so please consider this. And if you're unsure, just seek out the help of a qualified financial advisor. Okay, let's start by running you through the setup process and account selection just to make sure you're doing that right. Once you've downloaded the app and you have this screen, press sign up and pick your country of residence. You're then greeted by the different account types. So the invest account at the top here is a general investment account. So this is where you buy and sell funds and shares in companies. But the key thing here is that it's a taxable account. So any dividends you receive or any capital gains that you make could be subject to taxes. For anyone in the UK, the stocks and shares ISA account is exactly the same as the invest account pretty much, but any investment you make inside of the account can grow as much as they want and be free of those capital gains and dividends taxes. You can stick up to 20k a year into an ISA, assuming you haven't used up the allowance elsewhere. In my opinion, any investor in the UK should consider using a stocks and shares ISA for its tax benefits, and I personally wouldn't put any money into a general investment account before filling up and using my stocks and shares ISA allowance for the year. So in this tutorial, I'll be using a stocks and shares ISA just to show you everything. But for anyone that's outside of the UK that doesn't have access to this type of account, the process after selecting this button right here is the exact same. A cash ISA is another UK specific account, and we'll talk about that more in the relevant section below. But it's just a cash savings account. And the CFD account here is the one account that I'm not going to go into great detail about. CFDs are a form of options trading, so they're pretty speculative. 212 themselves admit that 77% of people or retail or novice CFD traders on their platform lose money. I personally don't even go into this part of the platform very often, and I see it more as gambling than investing. So pick your account type, then you have to choose a password. Please notice the requirements here, I forgot about them and it took me about 10 minutes to figure out why it wouldn't accept my password. And it's up to you on the notification side if you want these or not. Right, you're now into the app, but notice that we need to do some setup stuff before we can actually get going. It just takes a few minutes. It's part of the KYC or Know Your Customer requirements, and all banks, brokers, any finance institution has to do these exact same checks. Press the blue arrow here and then start by verifying your email address. Once your email is verified, you'll see the Start Investing Now button, which actually just prompts you to continue the setup process. Click the blue button again, and now we have personal details, nationality, full name. You get this scam warning, and then they'll want your date of birth. You'll be asked for your phone number, then asked if you want to allow tracking, and then information around your tax status, followed by your unique individual tax number. In the UK, this would be your national insurance number. Once you've input this, find your address, and now there's a series of questions about yourself and your investing experience. I can't show you how to answer these questions. I can't even put them on screen for compliance reasons. But there's about 5 or 6 questions. All I would say is read them properly and answer them truthfully. Don't just pick any answer and blast through it, because there's a chance that you might not be able to use the service depending on how you answer them. So these questions are given to the brokers by the regulator to ensure that the right kind of people are investing. I know it's a little bit nanny state, but what they want to do is protect those who shouldn't be investing from getting started. Once you've done that, it says your setup is complete, but it's not. When you click Invest Now, they'll want a picture of your ID. And once you've done that, you do one of those awkward images of you things. I could ask my editor to blank this image out, but I just want you to see that this is me in the morning, pink eye and everything. I mean, what a state. The ID check takes about 5 seconds to process. Okay, this next bit is really important. 212 are going to ask you to sign something called a W8BEN form. The reason is, in America, they have something called a withholding tax on dividends. So, as an example, let's say you get a dividend off of Apple. America will automatically slice 30% of the value of the dividend off at source. You won't even see that it's happened. But if you sign the W8BEN form, W8BEN form, whatever, that's reduced from 30% to 15% if you live in a country that has a tax treaty with the USA. I'm in the UK, so we have such a tax treaty. So I sign this as I want that reduction in the withholding tax. Okay, now I have actually completed everything. I'm instantly prompted to look at some investment pies. I'll press not now though, and I'll cover these in the pie section of the video. Right, let's get some money onto the platform now. You can start investing with as little as £1. If you click invest now, you'll be prompted to this screen, which is all of the different payment options. So quickly just notice how these top options are free. But here, after you've paid £2,000 into the platform, these options have a 0.7% fee. No one should be paying these fees. It's really easy to set up an instant bank transfer to avoid them. Just click this, and through a provider called TrueLayer, you're going to be pinged back and forwards between your bank and 212 to link the bank account to your 212 account. You'll get this once you're connected. Okay, just a quick bit on this screen here. You'll see this sort of interface across 212. So it's a slider that sets the amount that you want to deposit or invest or whatever or sell. But if you press this keypad, you can input the actual amount also. Go through the process to get money on the app. I'm going to put £100 on so that we've got some money to play with. And now you really are good to go. But first things first, let's just get you a little free bonus for signing up. So click the 3 lines in the corner here. This menu is like the settings or options. I'll go through each of these in a moment. But scroll down to where it says promo code and input Damien. DAMIEN. If you've deposited at least £1 onto the platform, you'll get a bonus worth up to £100. This is an affiliate link, so what that means is if you use my code, we both get something for it. It doesn't affect the cost of the service to you at all. And what I've done is I've put all of the details, the link, and the terms and conditions in the description below for you. Your free share will appear here on this tab that looks like a pie chart. But before we go into that, let's go through now each section of the app and I'll explain what each screen is for, what it does, the functionality, and then we'll make an investment together. So from top to bottom, left to right, clicking the 212 logo in the corner will get you this screen that allows you to switch between the different account types easily, assuming that you have different account types open. You then see a snapshot of your portfolio here. Any investments will be listed here, and then cash held in the account shows as free funds. Below this, for my stocks and shares ISA, is a handy current ISA allowance bar. So it shows how much of my allowance I've used up this financial year, but it doesn't take into account other ISAs held with other providers. Then you get a deposit funds button, which takes you to the payment screen that we saw before, but there are loads of ways to get to that payment screen, not just here. Flick this down, and then on the right-hand side is the notifications tab. You'll get notifications around investments, your activity, and any important events and news here. If you want to turn off any of the notifications, press the cog in the top right and you can manage which ones you get. I personally just turn most of these off besides security and account activity. In the bottom left, you've got the home button. This is highly customizable, this page, but out of the box, so you have the news and social area. 212 has a really active social community, if that's your thing. Watch lists are investments that you've selected to monitor. These ones here are preset, but if you want to add or remove things to the watch list, click an investment and then tick the arrow here in the top right. Then along the top, you have a load of different categories showing best and worst performing companies and some other filters. The pie tab is your portfolio. We'll go into this in more detail next when we look at making some investments. The magnifying glass is how you actually find investments. So they have the same sort of categories around popular stocks and funds. And if you scroll right down to the bottom, you have the ability to browse all split between the stocks and ETFs. But we'll come back to this in a second. This person tab here is the social side of the platform. You'll get a disclaimer consent form thing when you first go on. Honestly, I never go on here, but the community is very active. So you have communities and then you have pies, which is a very popular feature. I'll show you how to create your own pie in the making investment section. But here are a number of pre-made ones that you can track and copy if you like. Just consider that while Trading 212 does offer pies from financial institutions like BlackRock, a lot of these popular ones here are put together by complete strangers. They're not professional investors. And just because a pie is popular doesn't mean that it will do well. The 3 lines here is probably one of the most important tabs. So click into it and you've got a load of options. The earn interest on cash button here first Click it and you'll be asked to enable the ability to earn 4.9% variable on cash held inside of your stocks and shares ISA or general investment account. So I've got £100 sat on the app at the moment. That would mean that I would earn £4.90 a year for that. So 212 pay the same rate of interest on cash held across all of their account types. But if you hold it in a stocks and shares ISA or a general investment account, some of that money will be held in what are called QMMFs. QMMFs, qualifying money market funds. They will split up the cash between bank accounts and these funds, and the portion of your cash held in the accounts will be protected by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, whereas the funds held in the QMMFs won't be. This is because QMMFs, or qualifying money market funds, are investments, so carry investment risk. If they collapse, you're not covered by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, whereas if the bank accounts collapse, you are. If you enable this and you hold cash inside of your ISA or general investment account, they give you a breakdown of where the money is being held at that moment in time. I believe that the risk of anything going wrong here is low, but there is still a risk. So if you prefer to know that your cash is covered, you would need to hold it in the cash ISA because then you get the full FSCS protection. It's a bit confusing, I know, but it's a detail that I think a lot of people miss. Managed funds here is how you set up recurring payments, and most importantly, it's how you withdraw money from the platform. It can take up to 3 business days for funds to credit. I've had it be almost instant and take the full 3 days sometimes. History here shows all of your investment activity, useful for things like getting statements if you need them, and seeing any dividend history or anything like that. This button in the top right is how you download those statements. Portfolio transfers is exactly as it sounds. You can move a portfolio from another provider, and in conjunction with the ISA rules in the UK, this transfer then won't use up your ISA allowance for the year. 212 offers a good, easy to use service here. It's paperless and free. Just press get started and follow the steps. How smooth this process is depends on a few factors really, namely the investments that you're trying to move and then where you're trying to move them from. So 212 can't migrate investments onto their platform from another provider that they don't already have on their platform. So what that means is you would need to sell those investments with your previous provider and hold them as cash so that 212 can bring the cash over. You're going to need to check basically if they have the investments that you already have on your previous platform on their platform before you do the transfer for a nice clean process. But remember, you can have multiple stocks and shares ISAs with different providers, so you don't have to do the transfer. The other buttons in here include settings and things like live chat if you want to speak to them. Okay, let's now show you how to make an investment, shall we? I'm going to show you all sides of this. I'll show you how to buy and sell a fund and how to buy and sell an individual company as well. As well as this, I'll show you how to create your own pie and to manage it. I'm going to be buying investments for demonstrations purposes, but I'm just going to buy the most popular investments on the platform, the first ones that come up, so that this isn't construed as investment advice. I'm not saying that you should buy these individual companies or funds in particular. I'm just going to pick the most popular ones on the platform for the purpose of demonstration. When you invest, your capital is at risk. And if you're unsure about any of this, go speak to a qualified financial advisor. So on the search tab with the magnifying glass, there are a few ways that you can find an investment. You can search directly up here. You can use any of the lists that we've covered. Or like I showed you before, you can go to the bottom and then you can pick a section where you can view all. Let's start with ETFs or exchange traded funds. These are your whole market index fund style investments. And you can see here they're broken down into stocks, bonds, commodities, and then some other more niche sections here. But benchmarks at the top are the broad index funds. So whole market things. I'm going to show you how to buy the S&P 500 here because it's the most popular. All these fund names can be really confusing. So to help you out, what I've done is I've put together a free cheat sheet that will take you through some of the most popular brokers in the UK and the investments on their platform that they claim are the most popular. But it contains a glossary of fund terms as well that helps you break down what the names mean so you can work this out for yourself. Click the fund and then you get this screen. By scrolling down, you can see lots of info about the investment. When you're on an individual company, there's even more information. But a key point here with funds, if you scroll across at the bottom and you get this instrument details button, you can access the fund fact sheet, which gives you all of the information you need about the investment directly from the provider. So buying couldn't be easier, just click buy. You're then greeted by one of the slider options that I showed you before. You also have a number of buy options here across the top, but most people will be using the market order, which essentially means I want to buy the investment right now at the next market price. By doing this, your investment will process immediately if the market is open or at the next possible time. It's like a buy now option. I'm a long-term investor. I buy and hold for years, if not decades, so I just use market orders. These other order types along the top could be seen more as trading functions. You can set minimum and maximum prices and points you wish to buy or sell your investments, placing instructions to buy and sell at set prices, and those orders will execute if those parameters are met. Below in the description I've linked a video that goes into each of these order types in detail, compiled by my team at Financial Interest, which is another channel that I own. Let's focus on market orders though. So you can use the slider to set an amount that you wish to buy. If you press this little arrow here next to the value, you can switch from a currency amount to an amount of shares. So instead of saying I want to buy £50, you can say I want to buy 5 shares. And instead of using this slider, I prefer to use the buttons here just so I can input the amount that I want to buy myself. Press review order, and then you'll be greeted by the order details. You got the order type, the amount you're investing, the number of shares that gets you, and then the fees. As this fund is listed in pounds, there are no fees. I'll show you an investment in a second that has fees on it so you can see what that looks like. If you buy UK listed companies as well, such as BP, you might see stamp duty on here. It's not a fee, it's a really silly tax applied by the UK government for the purchase of British companies, and it can't be avoided. Send the buy order, and there you go. In this case, it instantly completes. It's not always going to be instant. If you're buying a more obscure investment, it may take a little bit longer, or if the market's closed, it won't complete until the market reopens. But that right there is the first investment made. It appears in your portfolio. We're off to a great start already, as you can see. But this is investing after all. And you can see here the grey dotted line is the price I purchased at, and the blue line is the live price. Okay, let's buy an individual company now. So I'll go with Tesla again because it's the most popular, not because I think you should buy it. You can just search it up here. It's exactly the same process as before. I'm getting a warning here about volatility, which I didn't get with the fund, as buying individual companies is inherently more risky. On the order details, we see the same info, but notice the FX fee here. So this is the only fee that Trading 212 charge when investing inside of a stocks and shares ISA. It's a 0.15% FX fee. This is actually very cheap compared to the rest of the market, but it is a fee, so you should be aware of it. So anytime you're buying an investment that's listed outside of your domestic currency, you will pay this fee. In their general investment account, it's possible to hold multiple currencies to reduce these fees, but inside of an ISA, you can only hold pounds. Once you're happy, you can complete the order. If we go back to the portfolio, you'll notice that I'm up. It's green, but the amount invested is less than the £50. This is because of the impact of fees. So I'm up on my purchase at the point that I invested in Tesla, but after the fees, I have less than when I started. I think speeding this up for a second and just watching the prices change is a good lesson in how the market functions. Notice how the investment balances are constantly changing. This is something that as investors you need to be aware of, and it's something that you need to accept if you want to be in this. Selling your investments is exactly the same in reverse. Click the investment, press sell, go through the steps. You incur an FX fee when you buy and sell investments that aren't listed in pounds. Okay, and now let's build a pie together. So a pie is basically an investment portfolio that you can build yourself or that someone else has built for you. You can stick a number of investments in them at varying percentages, and when you invest your money, it spreads across those investments automatically. You can have a combination of stocks, bonds, funds, whatever investments are on the Trading 212 platform, you can put those in your pie. There are pre-built ones by novice investors and also big institutions like BlackRock on the platform. I'll show you though how to build your own custom pie. So click the Create a Pie button here and then add instruments or investments. I'm going to just slap in the 3 biggest investments in the tech sector here because they're the first thing that I can see. Click the investment, press add to pie, go back and repeat. When I have everything that I want, I press the blue arrow here and you get to this next screen. Here you're setting the percentage allocations. I'll just whack in a random one to show you, but this total here must equal 100%. On the next screen, you can set up a regular payment into the pie using Autoinvest, or just say, I'll pay into the pie whenever I want with the manual option. Let me first show you how to set up the Autoinvest to avoid fees, as it's unfortunately not as simple as you would hope. Click Autoinvest and you're going to get this screen that gives you a value projection. I would just ignore these personally. They say the assumed growth rate here, but shouldn't be taken as gospel at all. These sliders set the initial amount you'll pay into the pie today, and then the amount that you will invest on a regular basis. You set the date here, and below that you set the amount of years that you want to invest for. Next screen is just naming your pie, then an overview of the pie before you press Fund Pie. Okay, here's where the problem is. Remember before when I said to you on the payment screen that there are options that incur a fee of 0.7% once you've paid in more than 2K? Those are these options here, and notice how the bank transfer option that we set up before that is free isn't here. Why? I don't know. To get around this, you need to click free funds here. And what you're saying is, on the day that I set before, the pie will take that amount of cash from the funds that I hold on the platform. But then you need to get that cash on the platform. And you'll see here it says you can do that by setting up a standing order. Standing orders can take 3 to 5 days to clear, so you're going to need to take this into consideration. This whole process, in my opinion, is one area of 212 that I think needs some simplifying. Okay, back to this screen. Let's say you don't want to bother with the whole standing order thing and you're happy just to invest your money when you've got it by yourself. I'm going to select manual, name the pie, shout out to Paul Briscoe for his warm and creamy pie. Now the pie is created and it just sits there, and because I've selected manual, I'll need to click in and invest. When I do this, I'm going to get some options about how I want that money to be invested going forwards. Do you remember the percentages that I set before? So over time, as your investments go up and down in price, the slices of the pie, if you will shift in their percentage allocation within the pie, and they won't reflect those percentages that you set. So you can select options here. You can say to Trading 212, I want you to invest the money in a way that makes sure that over time, the slices of the pie don't drift, and you keep them to the parameters that I set before. So if one investment becomes big, you'll invest less into that and more into the others to realign the pie. Or you could just say, I only want you to invest in the fixed percentages that I set at the beginning, regardless of what the pie is doing. Or you can set a custom allocation. On the next screen, it's a familiar slider, set the amount. And we have FX fees here because I'm buying American companies listed in dollars. Once I press confirm, we get a progress bar at the top. It'll take a little while to complete all the orders, but once it has, I can see the holdings here. Again, welcome to the market. They've already moved in price. Back on the portfolio screen, we can see my pie, and we have the investment in Tesla that I made before. If you want to hide any of these or change the view, just click the 3 lines here and you can toggle on and off the pies and investments to make it easier or clearer to view how you want. If you don't want to create your own pie and you don't fancy yourself some warm and creamy, war ready, or best of Warren Buffett, or any of the other community pies, there are ones put together by people who claim to know what they're doing. Click the plus new pie button in the portfolio tab and go this time with choose a ready-made pie. There's a selection here that you can choose from that do different things, but these core pies offer a multi-asset portfolio. They could in a way be considered similar to, say, a life strategy fund from Vanguard. Let's go with the top one. If you scroll down, you'll see here the composition as in how much of your money will be invested into each asset class and what the pie has exposure to. The moderate option here is almost 50-50 stocks and bonds, apart from 3% which is in commodities. By clicking on the pie variance at the top, you can dial this up or down to suit your own risk appetite. And then on any of these options, if you scroll up, press composition, you can see the holdings that make up the version of that pie. And then you can click into any of the funds to see what's in that fund. Once you're happy with this and you press confirm, you get this familiar screen that we've seen before. Okay, so we're nearly there, but before we're done, I now want to show you the other accounts, and most importantly, how they all work together as a unit that I believe it's the combination of these different account types and their features that makes 212 such an overall good provider. I've sold all my investments to get my cash back so I can show you. By the way, to sell pies, you press withdraw, not sell. Look at this, I started with £100, now I've got £103.08 because I'm clearly an investing genius. It was pure luck, but it again shows the fluctuations of the market. All of this video has been filmed over the space of a couple of hours. When I first started, I was down and now I'm 3% up. But anyway, remember the top right button with the account types. Let's explore this, starting first of all with the cash ISA. You might not want to use a cash ISA and that's perfectly fine. You could probably get a better rate using a money market fund as an example. But I want to run you through the functionality anyway, because some people will prefer cash ISAs. You click register and then you're in. You can deposit funds in the same way, but you can also transfer between the accounts. Trading 212's ISAs are what are known as flexible. So all that means is you can take your money out, and as long as you pay that amount of money back in within the same financial year, it won't use up your ISA allowance. You can also transfer between the accounts really easily. Back on the stocks and shares ISA, I go to the 3 lines, select manage funds and scroll down to move funds. I then move the £103 between account types. And if I switch back to my cash ISA, there it is. Just a quick tour of the cash ISA page first. We have the home screen. This time it shows an overview of your cash ISA and the interest rate that it earns daily. The interest is paid monthly, but it shows you what you're earning daily here. You can deposit funds. The piggy bank here is a more detailed view, but is all pretty simple. The middle button is for transferring cash ISAs. This people button is the same social stuff. Paul Briscoe is absolutely everywhere. And the 3 lines is the 3 lines menu again. As a working example then, you could have a stocks and shares portfolio, and then you could have an emergency fund stored in the cash ISA, and you can move between the two, seamlessly whenever you want. But then one day, let's say you have that emergency. Transfer money from the cash ISA to the invest account, which has a card linked to it. The first time you move money to this side, you're prompted to open the card, but you can also click the card icon at the bottom. The key thing is it comes with 1.5% cash back. After the 1st of Jan, the rate will be 0.5%. Nothing makes an emergency feel better like a bit of cash back. Press get card and you can choose which type of card you want. The physical card costs money. I just have a virtual card. I picked orange because, why the hell not? And then I added it to Apple Pay. Let's hope that emergency isn't I lost my phone. Got sick of holding that anyway. But this combination of accounts, the ability to move between them quickly, the flexibility of the ISAs, and that ability to spend via the invest account and get cash back, they give 212 a unique set of features that I haven't really seen anywhere else in the UK or beyond at the moment. I have other accounts with other providers. So I've got other stocks and shares ISAs with other providers. My SIP is with Vanguard, and I have an Invest Engine account where I invest spare business cash. But when it comes to my current stocks and shares ISA, the one I find myself contributing to the most is Trading 212. And it would take something pretty special to come along to change all that, assuming 212 doesn't make their service worse, of course. I hope that helped. If it didn't, I've got no idea why you just watched all that. But I'll see you soon.